animating, something that probably most people need to know. So the first thing you want to know is, how do I even make an animation? So for that, I'd recommend you to head over to Avatar, Rig Builder, and import anything like a block rig, because you'll need something to be animating for your animation to be played on later on. So I'm just going to be using a so-called block rig, and then what I'm gonna later on do is show you how to play the animations and all of that stuff. So now, if you have something that you want to be animating, if you actually want to be animating a mesh, as I as well have one right there, I'll as well try to be showing you that, which I actually first had to do a little bit of research on how to do that, because I wasn't exactly sure how to do it. But anyways, let's first of all come to the simple rig when we want to animate that. So I'm just gonna right up here at Avatar, click Animation Editor, close off the output, and definitely as well the toolbox. And then I'm gonna click on the rig that I want to be animating, and then I can just call this anything, the animation down there. And then I currently have a 1 minute time frame. So 1 second time frame. So this is the start and this is the end. And we can animate anywhere in between. So if we'd want to have a longer time frame, then we only have to change this number. So now we'd have a 3 second time frame. So, and this is what would happen in the time of 1 second. So if I'd want to have my character just be looking like he's kind of floating, then first of all, I'd have to, at the start of the animation, try to make every object have a theoretical animation for that object, to say this object will be like this. So basically all you have to do is click on every one of his body parts and not rotate it, but like start rotating it and then unrotating it. Now what we want to do is, we see that we have these shapes everywhere here that we can select. So if we click on the most top one, then we can see that it selects all of them. Then I'm gonna press Ctrl C and then click here at the end of the timeline, and if this blue thing indicates that it's in the end, then I'm gonna do Ctrl V, so that if anything would happen here in the end of the timeline, it would be restored to this. Perfect. So now let's get into the basic controls of animating. So animating, as you might already know, is similar to changing your rig, like moving, but with one exception. If you would, without the animation editor, let's say try to rotate the head, it would rotate it around the middle, like around there. But here it rotates around where it has been attached, so in this case to there where the head and the torso meet. Or let's say for the arm, there it actually stretches out the arm instead of just rotating the upper part of the arm around its own axis, which is sometimes good. And something else is, we can as well move these, and then it would be like having the top fruit. And then there is no scaling. So now that we know about the basic controls, we can actually start animating. And something that is really nice is, here we don't have to, for every single keyframe, have a small segment of animation state. We only have to, let's say, go to the middle of the timeline and do one movement. And then, as we can see, it will generate all the steps in between, which is really nice. So I want a kind of floaty animation, so I'll go to about 2/3 of the first second, and then I'm gonna select the main part of the character, the lower torso, which is always linked to the humanoid root part, which is the main part. And then I'm gonna use the moving tool to move him a little up. So now, as we can see, he will start moving up. And then I want that whilst he does that, he as well starts opening his arms a little, like if he's doing jumping jacks. And as we can see now, if we play the animation, he starts doing like this. Now if we would be making a walking animation, down here we can see the total looping animation button, and if we press that, then it will all the time repeat it, and we won't have to restart the animation the whole time. But I want this to be a little more interesting, so I'd say this is the highest point where he will get. So from there on, I'm gonna copy these keyframes and paste them somewhere about here, so that only at this point he'd actually start going down again. So in between we can have changes, as for instance, or let's say here, if we want the arms to be folded out even more, we should as well have the legs be folded out. And then if we can see this animation, one kind of problematic thing is that here it now thinks that the legs are already supposed to have any type of animation, which isn't exactly ideal, but it can kind of be fixed. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping to get, but what I was hoping for is that at this point it already reaches this point, so I can just copy these and paste them over here. So that now if we view the animation and put it onto loop, we can see that it's some type of floaty animation. Now I'm not the best animator, but I know a little bit about the tech, only a little bit. So now as we can see, if we press on these 3 dots here, before you will click publish to Roblox, you can see set animation priority. Now I don't know stuff about action 1, 2, 3 and 4, but I know that idle is an animation that will easily be interrupted, and movement is one that I don't know much, but and then there's also action. Now I take them as they seem. For instance, action is probably something that would only happen once, idle something that would happen for a while, the same as movement. So I would, for me, put this as an idle priority, and then I click publish to Roblox. Now you won't be seeing what I'm seeing, but you'll see a new window opening called asset configuration. There you can set the name, description, and who created it. Then if you click submit before you press close, you can see somewhere it says ID around the middle and some numbers. Now you can't remember those, but beside it has a button that if you click it, it says then ID copied. So you want to click that, and then you can close it. And then in the rig you want to be animating, you click on plus, animation, and then here in animation ID I'll paste that in and name it whatever we want to name it. Now that we have pretty much all the making of an animation out of the way, it's time for the part that we all have been waiting for, how to actually do the animation. So we want to, in this character, add a script. If it's a player, we want it to be a local script, but in any other case we want it to be a regular script. Then we want to, for one, reference the humanoid. Then we want to reference the animation object, and then we want to have it so that, in my case, this was, as far as I can remember, an idle animation. Now I think I'd rather have it as a one-time animation, but if you'd want to have an NPC that all the time plays an animation, you would just put the animation playing into a loop. Now what we can do is, here we want to load in the animation, so local anim equals to, and this is one of the most important parts, humanoid colon load animation anim object, the animation object, and then we can use commands such as play and stop. Now with these we can do stuff as we could, for instance, have a trigger such as, which I have already previously mentioned, such as the click and the touch trigger, and in those triggers we can then use these commands such as, let's say, anim colon play, which do pretty much exactly what you would imagine them to do. So now if the humanoid root part of this dummy would be touched, then he would start doing this animation thingy. And if we'd want to have him at some point, let's say if we'd want to have it so that then, let's say if his humanoid root part is touched, we could do anim : stop. So now if he was already playing the animation, then it would interrupt him. So let's test this out. So I'm pretty sure the humanoid root part is being touched the whole time. So yes, as we can see, it stopped him as soon as we clicked it. So now let's see, if we walk into him, he will start playing the animation and we can as well interrupt him. Nice. Okay, now to the rather more complicated part. And not extra complicated part. Animating a mesh. Now, when I wanted to do this once, I was kind of struggling because I needed to doodle what I need to do different. But it's very simple. So you would just animate this the same way you would think you would. So I'm just gonna quickly create a small animation. Now, as always, I'm gonna see if the animation priority is good. I'm gonna put it to action and then publish to Roblox. As always, copy the ID, and then I'm as well gonna do an animation object as last time. And I'm gonna paste the animation ID and name it. But this time in our script, we're gonna do something a little different. So as last time, we're as well gonna reference the animation object. But instead of referencing a humanoid, because as we can see, our mesh, if it's an FBX, won't have a humanoid. So instead, we have to reference the animator, which is, as we can see, below the animation controller. So local, I'm just gonna call it hum, because humanoid, because that's easier, equals the script.parent.animationcontroller.animator. Now as we can see, we can just easily do local anim equals to hum : load animation anim object, and then we can just quickly copy over these events because I'm too lazy to write them out again. And then as we can see, if we play, one thing is what I did wrong, because this thing does not have a humanoid root part. So I'll just instead reference the only part that it has. And I forgot to add a click detector inside. So now if we play, as we can see, it played the animation once because it was touched from the baseplate. So now if we touch it again, it plays the animation. But now if we click, it interrupts itself. And can you stop doing that animation? Okay. And as we can see, it works flawlessly. Okay, so that's a simple tutorial on how to do animating. I'm not really good at it. I'm Roblox, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Bye!